Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of SuperFantaFi. This being a show where we talk about TV shows of the supernatural, fantasy, and/or science fictional genre. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about Fallout Season 1, Episode 5. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. Well, first and foremost, we're picking up with Maximus, him and Thaddeus, and seems like they're on top of the world. It's like, oh my god, like reliving the glory of taking down that monster from last episode. It's like, oh, we're on top of the world. Thaddeus is asking to be branded, and it's like, yeah, we're good. And then Maximus made the stupidest decision of, well, we're good, we're gonna have to go back anyway, so I should break the news to you. Hey, I'm actually Maximus. And Thaddeus didn't respond the way Maximus thought he would. Yeah, he was all like remorseful, like, oh man, it sucks, you died and everything. But it's still the thing of, you're wearing that suit, where's Titus? To be fair, you didn't directly kill Titus. In fact, you didn't kill Titus. You kind of didn't help Titus and just let him die. But still, you didn't kill him. But Thaddeus wasn't willing to hear that discussion. He's just like, dude, you go back, they're going to kill you. Thaddeus could have been a little more understanding of the circumstances. But once again, the Brotherhood is essentially a cult, and the cult, this dude who believes in the whole mission, who believes in the cult, is like, yo, you effed up big time. If I support you in any shape or form and the Brotherhood finds out, I'm screwed. So it's a self-preservation thing. To be fair, Thaddeus proved himself to be a dick before. He's a dick now. But once again, Maximus got so caught up in the swell of like, yeah, we're victorious, we got the head, we had this big victory and everything. Plus, Thaddeus opened up about like how he felt so bad for Maximus. But it's like, yeah, all that went out the window where it's like, cool. This is all BS because you are actually in the armor. The real Titus is dead. Once again, this is about me. And Maximus tries to kill Thaddeus because I can't let you like kind of report me. Like, hey, let's keep this cool and everything. It's like, to be fair, he kind of knew that. It's hard to say who was in the wrong first. Thaddeus being the one not being like, hey man, we're cool, it's all good, it's all Gucci. But it's like, no, like Thaddeus, well, Maximus immediately went to be like, well, I got no choice but to kill you because it's the only one to keep your mouth shut. And then that's the problem. You're going up against someone who probably knows the armor better than you do, even though you know some specifics about some of the stuff in the armors. Like, he was able to remove like the power cell or whatever to it and took off with the head. So not only is he going to get like the reputation and everything, he's leaving you there in that armor because you're going to die because there's no getting out of it. So I'd assume you'd eventually run out of oxygen, you know. So I assume that would be like the biggest, like he's leaving you there to die. And even if you did get out, he'd already make it back to eventually the Brotherhood. And so you'd be screwed in that department too. You wouldn't have time to explain yourself. Because, hey, you bring the head. The whole point was bring the head and you'll be able to explain stuff away. Who knows if they'd be too kosher with that notion of, even if you completed the task, I don't know if they'd still like accept you with open arms. But luckily, while he's being attacked by some giant cockroaches, lo and behold, who shows up? It's Lucy, which is so interesting that these two characters who have a lot in common, they seem to be like the more good-natured of our protagonists in comparison to Cooper, but still. People trying to both prove themselves, kind of both of them kind of out of their league and out of their element. Lucy more so than Maximus, but even he still like isn't 100% in his own element. So now it is like a thing of, oh, these people have to trust, which both of them have been severely screwed over by trust, because Lucy has kind of basically been screwed over by every single person she's met, for the most part. Not totality, but for a good chunk of most of the people have either wanted her dead or attempted to kill her while she's been on the surface, whereas Maximus literally got betrayed just by Thaddeus. So it's like, I mean, to be fair, I guess the argument could be it started with Titus throwing him to the wolf, but it's like, once again, squires are supposed to kind of be the sacrificial lambs. I guess the argument could also be that this is all karma if Maximus had anything to do with like making his buddy, like putting the razor blades in his buddy's boots. Once again, it's still unclear whether he did it. I feel like he did, but it's hard to say. I feel like we won't probably get a real answer, a full answer to that until maybe by the end of the season. I don't know. But yeah. So like I said, it could be karma for that coming back to bite him. But once again, Lucy wants to help him. I mean, to be fair, she's like suffering from radiation poison. I don't know if it's just for the natural state of being around so many radioactive spots. Maybe it has something to do with drinking that radioactive water last episode. Yeah, that was last episode. Conjunction of a lot of stuff. But he ends up helping her as she kind of gets him out the suit, which she knows, like, she ends up nerding out, being like, oh, is this the T-60? So kind of like a lot of common ground between them. But turns out Lucy's okay because he gave her, what was it? It literally is called Raid Away. It's, you know, a little thing in a bag for, like, getting rid of radiation poisoning. It's like, oh, Jesus. And it's literally called Raid Away. It's like, of course. But the two join forces because they're after the same thing. I think it's also interesting, too, whereas Lucy's like 100% honest, and she even admits later on her and the people in the vault are naive. It's like, yeah, she was a little reluctant to trust, and she ended up telling him everything, and Maximus, kind of for the most part, is telling her the truth, except for, hey, I'm not Max, I don't tell you my real name, I'm still trying to be Knight Titus. To be fair, she, like, admired you as a knight, you helped her out and everything, but it's like, right, the last time he was truthful to someone was Thaddeus, and saw how that immediately turned around on him. So it's like, yeah, let me just pretend, like, no one's going to listen to him. It's like, oh, my name is Maximus, and, like, I have to, like, she knows nothing about the knights, so there was literally no point you even lying about your name. You should have been like, yeah, Maximus. But it's like, he got to reinvent himself, especially in Lucy's eye, because everyone else knows him, and he got to, like, play the role of the knight. Whereas, like, now he gets to play it even more so with Lucy, so that's why he's, like, not even admitting his own. He could have just said, like, hey, my name is Maximus, because he doesn't want to be himself. He has a lot of issues with who he is, but it's like he gets to reinvent himself. It's like, oh, I'll be Knight Titus, because that's who I am now. Maximus is dead. I am Titus going forward, to some extent, until, like, he gets involved with the brother, crosses path with the Brotherhood and again, and it's like, yeah, you're definitely going to be Maximus in those moments. But Lucy's trying to get some background on what's happened the past 200 years. She's like, yeah, I know, like, some of the history. She's like, yeah, the 350 years of the country before, like, the bombs and stuff. But she's like, yeah, like, what happened in that 200 years? And it's like, he's like, yeah, the bombs had fell. And she's like, yeah, I know about that. You know, but he was kind of like, yeah, I was around. I was like, what is he talking about? It's like, right, there's been multiple bombs that have dropped. Not just the original drops, but as we see later on, it's like from his memory, him hiding out in that, like, refrigerator or whatever, that's from some later bombs that were dropped. Who knows how many have been dropped over the years. But it's like, it's that complicated thing of everyone wants to save the world, just no one can agree on how they want to handle it. And so he was there at ground zero for, like, one of the bombs, and that's where he ended up running into one of the knights who was there to help him all those years ago. And at first, I thought he was having a panic attack, but it seemed like he was suffering from the gunshot wound. We'll circle back to that. But I thought for a second, you know, it was all triggering bad memories, so he was, like, traumatized and was kind of like having a PTSD moment and a panic attack. But like I said, it ended up being from the gunshot wound. I almost wondered if it was poison or something, considering how that whole thing went down, but the real kick in the teeth for Lucy was a twofold thing. It was kind of a back-to-back. First and foremost, it was running into the Fiends. I love that whole sequence where it's like, hey, do you have a gun? And it's like, no. Do you have weapons? No. And, like, it's like, hand me your gun. Lucy's like, no. They said they don't have any weapons. It's like, well, they're lying. It's like, well, yeah, you just lied too. Once again, the two different worlds of this is Maximus knows his world better than you, and your naivety of, like, despite you saying, like, oh, you don't want to trust people, she still wants to naturally believe people are good. You don't want to immediately assume the worst in people, because that kind of creates, like, you know, paranoia and kind of brings out the worst in you. Because once again, it goes back to the point she made last episode, being like, I might end up like you, Cooper, but I will never be you. You know, and just, I think, to prove that point more and more, of like, yeah, I'm not going to let this world change me. I might have to adapt, might have to do some stuff I'm not proud of, but I'm not going to let it change my core values when it comes to saving this world from itself in a lot of ways. So Lucy's kind of like, right, we're just going to put our hands up and we're going to be good. And I love when you're screaming across the bridge to this other peak couple, and the guy's like, what the fuck are you talking about? Where she was like, yeah, we should take a deep breath, and he didn't know what she was talking about. So it's like, right, we'll slide past each other, hands up in the air. It's all good. We're all good. All right, we're scooting by. We're scooting by. I'm like, there's no way it's going to be this kosher. And then, I don't know, maybe I was looking at the wrong thing, but in that scene when the woman looked at Lucy, she was specifically looking at the thing on her arm. I was like, not unless she was looking at something else and then she smiled, because I thought they were going to jack them. I was like, oh, she was probably looking like, oh, that's something that could be sold. But it turns out they're fiends. it's essentially cannibals. It's like, yeah, the people who eat people. For Lucy's like, I fucking hate it up here. It's like, yeah. I mean, Cooper even kind of implied, like, right, you might have had some cannibalism going on during the, like, the plague or whatever that kind of, like, wiped out a lot of your crops. Like, she talked about that. Was that last episode? I want to say she talked about that. So, but then the other kick in the teeth Lucy had to deal with, aside from just like cool, these were people we killed. Like, once again, she was not directly responsible for the guys that died last episode because the ghouls did that. So, but she still had played her part, but she wasn't directly involved. This is the first time she's directly been involved with killing someone, because even Wilzik, it's like, well, she cut off his head after he was already dead. So she hasn't really had to kill. Well, no, because of raiders. So it's just kind of like a... But that was kind of a very much a heavily self-defense thing, where it's like this. It's like, right, we could have just scooted by each other. We didn't have to do anything. But it's like, oh, not only were they going to kill us, they were also going to eat us. So there's that. But the real kick in the teeth is when she found out about what the New Republic of California, I think it's what it was called, or no, New California Republic. And it's like, wait, what? This place was formed after the bombs. And she's like, wait, then what about Reclamation Day? Like, the whole purpose of the vault is that we will originally come back to this surface and rebuild society. It's like, no, after the bombs fell, there were a society built. But even Maximus is like, if it makes you feel any better, it didn't work out. It doesn't make her feel any better, because it would mean doubly so that everything they did in the vaults was worthless. So it's like, cool, like our big plan to come up here and save this world, look at the state this world is in, but it's already happened beforehand. No one came to the vaults like when they were trying to rebuild society because you weren't important enough. You were like, you know, once again, we don't know all there is to know about the vaults, but it could be implied, like, currently with what the knowledge we have of, you guys were completely forgotten, because like most people, like Mama June said like a couple episodes ago, it's like, oh, we thought all you idiots were dead inside those vaults. Even Maximus was like, yeah, I was told stories that it was nothing but monsters down there. So no one probably bothered opening up those vaults that we are aware of to the general public that was surviving on the surface. It's like, yeah, those suckers are dead, and rightfully so. They suck for like trying to say, haha, that's karma for you, you know? Maybe that's kind of the thought process there. Maybe, maybe not. The two ended up making their way to, Maximus and Lucy ended up making their way to a hospital to look for some stuff to patch up Maximus. And they end up falling into a trap. But then it turns out, oh, the trap led them to a vault. I'm assuming this is supposed to be Vault 31. Maybe it's a different vault. It's unclear. I don't know, like, once again, I don't know Fallout lore, so I actually don't know how many vaults there are in general. Obviously, we're mainly focusing on the trifecta of 31, 32, and 33, but that seems to be its own issue. I don't know how that corresponds to the other vaults that are out there, if they're kind of in a similar boat, or those just completely separate things. Because, like, I know, like, the stories throughout the Fallout games, like, obviously I know, like, one's Las Vegas, because it's, you know, Fallout New Vegas, and I don't actually know where all the other ones are, because I think this is the first, someone can correct me, I think this is the first story set in the Fallout universe set in California, so I don't know, like, how, like, I don't know if there's, like, a specific number of vaults per state, or, like, how that whole thing works, but either way, Lucy's happy because it's like, oh yeah, like I'm away from we're in the best, safest place ever, you know, because like, hey, we got away from the surface and we're here at the vault. I know how things work here, but that's going to be an interesting rude awakening for Lucy, considering her brother's side of the story, where he's discovering like there might be a lot of BS related to this. And now it's like, here you are, like, back at home, where you think, like, okay, like, I know how things work. I know how this world works. And then you're going to find out, your eyes are going to be open to maybe life wasn't what you thought it was. I mean, especially with the parallel that Lucy talks about, like, at 6 years old, she thought the light in the sky was really the sun until her mom was gone. And then she realized, like, oh, the only reason I never felt real, like, I felt like I really felt the light on my skin, was because my mom made me believe it. She made me feel comfortable enough and was there to kind of keep the reality from me, maybe in more ways than one, as we're potentially going to find out more and more about Lucy's mom. Maybe that's what that, about Norman's discovery, I want to call him Norman, it's Norm, his discovery last episode along with Ched about, right, they used Rose's Pip-Boy to get inside, or at least, you know, the Raiders did, so like I said, the ugly truths about the vaults are probably going to pop up for Lucy. But, you know, circling over to the vaults, back at 31, Chet and Norm are still looking around and just discovering, like, right. It's like, oh, there was a message of, we know what's hidden in here. Chet wanted to leave because they're not supposed to be there. I was like, I guess there would be repercussions for you going to there because it's dangerous, and maybe the argument could be you're putting the rest of Vault 33 in danger. Then we also have the elections that are going on, which, for one, I love that old dude because one of the people is in line and he keeps turning to him like, yeah, I gotta vote for some, you know, experience and everything, right? He kept turning around, sorry, I'm voting for Betty. And he's like, yes, I got it. And then later on he ran into the other guy. He's like, yeah, you know, gotta put your trust in 31, whatever the stupid slogan is. And as he's leaving, he's like, I voted for Betty. I'm like, dude, shut the hell up. Why do you keep saying that? I love that stupid bit. It's so good. I expected him to stop after 3 times when he was turning around in lines because, you know, right, things happen in 3s. And then the 4th line was, oh, I voted for Betty. It's like, he got it, dude. You could just shut up. We don't need to know who you're voting for. He knows you're not voting for him. Hell, poor dude was like, when the time came, he was like, who the hell am I kidding? And he voted for Betty as well. So I was like, oh, that's so sad. Because you're supposed to at least vote for yourself. Apparently, she got like 98% of the vote. So, hey, it wasn't a complete and utter landslide, but and I'm sure in a lot of ways it pretty much was. Either way, Norm ended up finding out that when it came to all the overseers, including his own dad, every overseer that's been the overseer for 33 has been a transfer for 31. And it's like, wait, why are all these people... Because this also comes back to the conversation I had previously. Like, well, we know 32 had raiders and stuff masquerading as the vault dwellers from 32. Like, and we're here, apparently we're talking to the overseer of 31. I'm like, how do we know that's real and that's not BS? But now we're finding out, oh, Vault 31 might be complete BS from the beginning. So... did the Raiders not interact at all with Vault 31? Like, maybe they specifically came to Vault 33 because they knew they were coming after Lucy and Norm's dad specifically. Because, once again, he was a transfer. And so is the new overseer, Betty. She was also a transfer over. So it's like, apparently it's been working like that for, like, the past 200 years. It's like, why have we been doing that? Like, have they ever truly interacted with 31? Because even Norm was asking Stephanie, because we find out I wasn't expecting her to be a transfer too. I'm like, oh, cool. So you're in on this. I mean, she was decently close to the family because she's best friends with Lucy. So I was like, interesting. I wasn't expecting you to kind of be sort of evil. Now part of me wonders, is that why she was kind of giving Norm to go ahead on killing the... It's like, right, my husband died, but it's also like, no, I've got some secrets to keep. And it's like, they can't kill the prisoners without drawing too much attention. It's not like the Raiders are talking either way. I mean, even then, like, during the recap, the guy was like, yeah, I don't know what they were up to, but it was up, they were definitely, in 32, were definitely up to no good. So even they don't know. I guess maybe Moldaver's like keeping a lot of that close to the vest. Because when Norm asked Stephanie about, like, oh, what was Vault 31 like? She's like, yeah, the only difference is, the potatoes are better. And it's like, oh, Norm's like, yeah, my dad said the exact same thing. She's like, oh, then it must be true. It's like, there's something, once again, off about that. What's going on? Then we find out that they're going to go to Vault 32, and basically they're splitting up their personnel. Some personnel are going to leave and relocate to 32 and build it back up, while others stay in 33, which maybe that's supposed to be a personnel like shortage so that you could secretly kill off the Raiders now by doing that. But by the time they go there, Norm and Chet are the only ones being like, oh, this is creepy because the whole place has been spruced up, the bodies have been disposed of, the walls are freshly painted. You know, it's like, even Norm went over to the toaster where the guy stuck a fork in the toaster to electrocute himself. That same toaster now works, and, you know, I was like, that's disgusting. So pretty quickly cleared the place out. The computer they were on and the manager's office is now smashed in. It's like, yo, this is weird. And Chet and Norm are the only ones who know the truth. You also have to be careful who you talk to, considering, well, you can't talk to Stephanie about this because she's from 31, just like the Overseer is. So, I mean, just like Betty is. So, I mean, at least the two other candidates, you can trust them because they weren't chosen because they're not from 31. So it does beg the question, well, what is 31 circumstances? Like, are they all surface dwellers pretending to be vault dwellers? Like, once again, there's the whole notion of Cooper knows Lucy's last name. He's like, oh, I know. Like, the moment he heard her last name, he's like, what? Really? So it's like, either that's from like years and years ago, or maybe over to his years as a, like, you know, in more recent history, he has had an interaction with like her family, or once again, maybe her family has direct ties to Vault Tech, which he had his ties to back in the day as well, you know, doing, once again, being kind of their poster child in a lot of ways. You know, being the foundation for their mascot and everything. So I don't know what to fully make of it. Like, what is this secret what is 31 up to? Like, what have they been up to? Are there still people back at 31 running things? I mean, obviously you're sending over personnel every once in a while. I mean, that's the thing too, like, until now, Norm and them didn't even know that Betty was from 31 until now. But I mean, maybe they did and just never put it together until you put the continuous history of literally every Overseer at 33 has been someone from 31. So maybe he knew, everyone knows ahead of time that she's from 31, but maybe it's been so long that it didn't matter. But like I said, you put it into the pattern of like, oh, that keeps happening over and over again for the past 200 years. What the hell is going on? Any guesses at this point would just be like me spitballing, throwing shit at the wall of like weapons, some actual perceived cure. Are you making bombs again just to drop them again? And it's just like, once again, history repeating itself type of thing. I don't know what to expect, what to even begin suspecting to be the resolution, the reveal in all of this. We'll ultimately have to wait to see where the next episode ultimately ends up taking us going forward with all of this. But really, that's all I wanted to talk about. So the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.